Welcome back to Real-Time Workflows. Let's implement the camera shake techniques that we talked about the other day. So over here I've got just a very basic empty project. Well, it's not empty, it's got the basic level project, basic drive-in project, and I've recorded a bit of action just by pressing play and running the game, recording these objects here. So the car runs down and bumps over this thing and comes down and crashes, and I thought this would be a good kind of way to implement a few different types of camera shake. The first way we're going to implement camera shake is via blueprints. So let's do that first. We're going to create a new blueprint class, open up all classes and search for camera shake. We've got this camera shake base here, we'll select that, and we're going to call this it's BP because it's a blueprint, and we're going to call it cam shake we'll call this mount basic. Right, so this camera shake is going to be the rumble from the mounted camera that we discussed in the other lesson. So let's open up our blueprint. Here's what we get. So there's a few different options. These are where the options are. There's a few different options in terms of what kind of camera shake we're going to use. I've tended to use Perlin noise, and so you get the location and rotation. And you get the amplitude and frequency settings that we discussed the other day, and you can set these per channel as well, or these will just set the whole thing. And then there's a timing thing that we're going to look at as well. So let's just start from scratch. I can't remember what the settings are, so let's just find out. And the best way to do these sort of things, is to just play a little bit. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to put a camera into our sequencer. I'm just going to save that for now. Compile it, save it. Let's put a camera into our sequencer. So we're going to add a camera, which adds our camera cut track, and I'm going to attach this camera to the car. I'm going to add advanced sports car, and we'll just attach it to the vehicle mesh, and it'll give us an option to where to attach it. I'm going to click on route. Obviously it's miles away, so I'm going to reset the settings, and you'll see now that we are attached to the car with zero, or with our translations all zeroed out, our transforms all zeroed out. Okay, so now frame upon our camera. We can see it's attached inside the car, and let's put our... So let's move the camera to where we want it now, but I quite like this. Let's say we're doing a shot like this. I'm not gonna overthink the shot. So we're doing this, and then boom. Okay. So if we just play this shot through. Cool. So it's not a shot, it's coverage. I think there's an important distinction there. That's not a shot, that's just me sticking a camera on a car and letting it run or render it. And in the edit we might find a use for that, but it's just coverage. We can make many of these, we can stick cameras on them and render them out. But this is definitely a shot that will need some camera shake. So we can, on our camera, we can add camera shake, and we'll see that we've got our blueprint that we just made is right here. So let's stick it on, and we can see that it's blending on, and it's running, and it's blending off, and those settings are actually here down at timing, right? So it's on for 1 second, and it blends in and out for 0.2 seconds. So that's our 1 second, and it blends in and blends out. Now, the first thing I recommend doing is changing this. I want this to be nice and long, right? So I'm going to change this to like 200 seconds or something for a start, and I'll compile and save that, and let's just see what it's doing. So I'm not really feeling it. Can't really feel that it's doing anything, right? No, I expected that. So we're gonna whack up the amplitude and just whack it up by a good amount so we can see what's going on. We need to be able to see the effect before we do anything, right? Now we can see that the image moved when I hit compile there, right? So this should be doing something now. Yeah, so we can see now it's kind of all over the place, right? So that's too low frequency. And in fact, if I would just the easiest thing to do actually is to remove the. I'm going to remove the attachment to start with, so we can see what's going on. So this is it without it being attached to the car. I'll re-add the attachment in a second. We can see what we're doing. So we can see that that's just very low. That's almost kind of handheld kind of feel. So let's whack up the. It's the amplitude's too high and the frequency is too low. Okay, so just on both of them, I'm going to bring the amplitude down to by half. Let's just say for now. So say it's 5, and I'm going to whack up the. Let's say it's 5 each and see what they do. Compile and save, and then hit play. Okay, so that's still kind of wild. So let's bring. I think the frequency is still too low and the amplitude is still too high. So I'm going to bring them down and bring that up to 10 and set this down to 2. Just feeling a little bit getting closer. So I actually think our amplitude's probably fine at 1. Let's try that. Yeah, it's feeling better. It might even still be a touch too high, or maybe not quite enough vibration. I'm going to whack that up a bit more. Compile, save, and yep, I still think it's a bit too high though, so I'm going to set the amplitude to 0.5. Okay, and then yeah, that's feeling better. That's a car rumble. All right, so now I'll re-add the attachment. Attach car vehicle mesh boot. So we're back with our shot because it kept the translations, the transforms that were on the camera. And now if we run this shot, we've got a nice bit of energy in the camera shake there. Boom. Cool, right? So that's how you make camera shake in Unreal Engine. Let's do a couple of others though, and let's make a. Let's come back to our content browser. So we could make a. Let's go new blueprint class. Camera shake base. Select BP cam shake impact. Okay, so this is our camera shake impact now. So this one, I'll go to Perlin noise again. Our timing's going to be important here, right? So it's going to be it's going to be on for boom, maybe a second, but actually it's going to blend in over 0.5, let's say, of seconds. And if we know that our high impact, if we remember what we said about camera shake, that our frequency is high and our amplitude is low, and for an impact they're both high, so we're probably going to want to crank up the amplitude on this one. So let's go, let's make it we'll set it to 15, so that way we were 15 on the frequency, and amplitude let's set to 10 and 10. Okay, and also compile and save that, and we'll go back to our sequencer, and what we can do is we can add another camera shake track. Actually, just before we do that, we can see here that our, just in terms of animation, our rumble effect needs to come off when we clear the ground. So I'm going to move this, and we've got this kind of this dying off effect. So watch what happens now. So rumble, rumble, poof, and then we don't get any because we're no longer rumbling on the ground, right? And we'll let it fade off there. I think that's fine. But we've also got this. There should be a little impact here. Okay. So let's add camera shake impact. Okay, and now we can see we've got 2 tracks now, and what we're going to do is do that. Now actually I've been a bit of an idiot. No, I didn't remember my own rules. This should blend on over very little time. I'm going to almost say zero, basically. And it should take less time. So it's going to take 0.6 seconds. Okay, so compile and save that. And the reason is, if you see here, it comes on. It just comes on automatically. There's no fade in. It's just on. And then it'll die down then over half a second. Oh, that's a bit big, but it's pretty cool. I actually quite like it for this bit. So let's move it down here. I'm also gonna, you can copy these. So I'm gonna Control C it, and I'm gonna Control V again, because when we hit the ground, we start running again. We're gonna want to bring this noise in again. And so this one's boom. Right, okay, so let's go back to here, impact. Oh, we should probably, let's make it so that it's not quite as big. I think it's a bit too big. Let's make it 5 and 5. And I'm also going to kill it over a shorter time, 0.25. And make it just 0.3 seconds. Compile, save. Just go and have a look, see where the impact occurs. So probably there. And bring this back in from here. So it goes flying through the air, boom. There we go. Okay. And then I'm gonna add it to here as well, so we can go Control C and I'll add it to this. It's made another track, don't really matter about that. And I think that's coming too early. Quick look here. Yeah, 6 wants to be there. So now rumble, 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 impact, nothing, impact and rumble. There we go. Okay, so that's how you use blueprints to make camera shake. Let's move on to physical, real camera shake. In order to do this, we're going to use virtual camera. So you'll need to get your virtual camera. For this, I'm going to use my iPad and do the things that I said in the other lesson. Right, so virtual camera is running, because we can see there. I've added it to my take recorder. If you don't know how to use take recorder, there's a lesson up. I'm linking to here now. So the way to do this is to make a cam shake level sequence. Let's call it cam shake. Actually, let's call it cam shake mount. Let's say for the camera shake that you want to record, and we're gonna set that to be the take to record into. All right, and we're gonna add our vCam actor to it, and we're gonna record at 24. In our cam shake mount sequencer, we're going to set this to be longer than 5 seconds. Let's set it to be 25 seconds, let's say. Okay, and we're going to hit record, and then shaky, shaky, shaky. Okay. Now, if you were doing this for, let's say, the drift setting, drift style camera shake, you would obviously be doing a lot less shaking. You'd just kind of be holding it there and letting it kind of do its thing. Let's just close that. And if you were doing just the impact, you would just shake it like that. Now, what we're going to do is come into our keyframes, and we can see here what we've got. And we just want to find like a good version. The first thing we want to do is change our camera component transform. Is change our Z, and we want to grab all of our Z, change this to transform, and which can come out. We just want to move this down to 0, okay, because it's too high. So we want, this feels like where the actual camera shake should be, kind of here. I think I'm not going to use all of it. So if you're not going to use all of it, we just want to grab the bit that was working the best. And I think the bit that's kind of floating around the Z, this bit here, looks good. but we're also drifting upwards. So I'm just going to grab my lattice and I'm going to grab this, and I'm just going to bring this down so we're not floating upwards anymore. So we've kind of got everything just staggering around there like that, around that axis there. So it gets good probably from around here. So I would say we can probably bin these frames. Let's get rid of those. And let's just check everything else. We want our X rotation to be around 0 as well. So just kind of find the average spot for it there. And our rotation should be fine. They should tend to hover around 0, but they're not doing quite. So let's just move those and pitch. Yep. Get them to be so that they're around 0. And yaw. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to save this anim. Bring this to there. Pull it down so it starts at 0. And we'll bring this track down as well. Just bring it down. Now we've got a level sequence with an animated camera, but that's still not much use to us unless we're going to start copying this in. What we really want to do is make this a camera animation sequence. So we'll come back out here, and the reason we're doing this is we can't take record into a camera animation sequence. We've recorded it into a regular animation sequence, and now we're gonna go. If you type in it, camera, when we add a new asset, camera animation sequence, and call this camera shake mount. And probably a good thing to do here is to call this camera animation sequence, just to differentiate the two. If we're being nice and tidy, which you should be, don't inherit my bad habits. This one should therefore be called level sequence. Okay, so we've got our camera animation sequence, and we open that up, and you see what it's got in there is a camera. It needs some animation, so we can open our the one that we just animated, click through to the subsequence, right click on the transform track and copy, then back to our camera shake file and just right click on the camera and paste. That will paste the camera animation transform that we just copied onto the object. We then need to just click through and make sure that we've got it there, and we'll set it to 24 frames, and we just need to make sure we've got it as long as it needs to be. So it's let's see, what's that, 389 frames, so let's call it 380. Well, let's call it 390, screw it. Yeah, there you go. So now we've got a camera animation sequence. So now we can go back to our shot that we need the second one for. So we come in here, we've got our mounted shot. There we go, and we don't have camera shake on it because obviously we deleted that. So we're going to add template sequence, and we're going to add this camera shake mount. Okay. And now what this is adding that motion to it. It's going to knock the transforms. That just means that our translates are probably a bit too big, or that we're off center somehow. We can watch it through and see what it does, and it is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's just it's a little bit off center. So let's just click through and go to our camera animation sequence. Let's just see what it's doing in here that's making that. So it's probably our location X. Oh, it's probably just that these are too big. Okay, so there we go. I mean, the way to solve if it's offsetting your transforms too much, you could just get rid of the transform, the translate. So in this one, I just deleted the translate channel in camera shake mount. So I just deleted that, and it's, you know, because the rotation is probably most of what you need. So don't worry too much about bringing the translate in. It's fine. The rotation, as you can see here, it's working pretty good. I know the way to control this. If we right click on here, there are multipliers. So we can add the multiplier channel. Okay, so we can turn it down here. Now we can make this bigger, so we're getting more. So that's our equivalent of size. And we can also, we can go properties and we can change the time, so we could slow it down, which is the changing the frequency. Okay, so we could slow the frequency right down. We could reverse it, in fact, and we could also change the property multiplier, and now we get a much smaller shake. The other thing we can do is we can go properties and can loop. We can check that, and now we can drag this out, and that will then loop the anim. Now there might be a bit of a bump, but yeah. So that's two ways of creating camera shake in Unreal Engine. You will notice if you come into here and type camera shake, if you add a new node and you camera, you can see that there's a camera shake node. I'll be honest, I don't know what that does. It's getting a bit blueprinty for me. I don't need that. I don't know what it does. I don't need it. If anyone wants to explore that, let me know what it does. It's not something that I need in my brain. Because there's two good ways they're doing it. So that is how to apply camera shake in Unreal Engine. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you on the next one.